So this morning, I wanted to find a connection between this week's Torah portion and a prominent American. So here's what I came up with. I'm going to start with the opening discussion, and then I'll link it to someone that I think captures a real powerful theme of this week's Torah portion. So this week's Torah portion is, the name of it is Pinhas. Okay. Who was Pinhas? A guy. Grandson of Aaron. Very good, very good. At this point, that's one information we know of Pinhas. There's one other thing we know of Pinhas that happens at the end of last week's Torah portion. Just to set the scene for you while you're thinking of your answer, things are going well from the perspective of non-Jewish prophets. Balaam is offering us this wonderful blessing, complimenting how good our tents are. And right after that blessing, we head off to the Midianites, and what Balak's trying to accomplish through cursing was actually done through the assimilation of the men of Israelite and the women of the Midianites, and so much so that two go to cohabit in the Holy of Holies, and then Pinhas sees that, and what does he do?
Kills the two perpetrators.
Good, and yes, I like the gesture right there. Yeah, boom, kills them right through the middle, right? And you wonder, like, how could in one slay he kill them at the same time? Just imagine their position. And the Parsha ends, and we are left. And by the way, last week's Torah portion is notably called Balak, right after the person who sanctioned Balaam to do the curse, which ended up becoming a blessing. You'd think, with all that action, that would be the Pinhas Torah portion. But no, this is the Torah portion called Pinhas, and I think that hints that what unfolds in this week's Torah portion is the message that we are to learn out from Pinhas. So the message was clearly not that act of violence. It was more so, how do we process that act? That's what merits the name of this Torah portion. And the question is, well, what is God going to do? How is God going to respond to this moment? And if you open up to page 918, you can find out. Everyone should have been at the edge of their seats all week. Right? Be like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Well, now we're finally here, and we are going to see the answer. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. God speaks to Moses. Okay, what is God going to say? Pinhas ben Elazar ben Aharon HaKohen, as Neil correctly said, right? Pinhas, the son of Elazar, the son of Aaron the priest. Heshiv et chamati me'al b'nei Yisrael bik'ano et kin'ati betocham. What did he do? He has turned back my wrath from the Israelites by displaying among them his kin'ah, his passion, his zealotry for me, so that I did not wipe out the Israelite people in my passion. Say therefore, lachen, I grant him my pact of friendship. Lachen noten lo et briti shalom. I give him a pact of friendship. It shall be for him and his descendants after him a pact of priesthood for all time, because he took impassioned action for his God, thus making expiation for the Israelites. So, that's the gist of what this Torah portion is about, as far as Pinhas is concerned. What's the judgment? How does God process the behavior of Pinhas? A reward. Why reward, Tom? What's the reward?
Because he's defending God, basically.
Okay, what is the reward?
The reward is that his lineage has permanent priesthood.
He's got permanent priesthood, and there's another word that's referred to as well. Neil?
The other
We're going to get to that in a second. But the other reward is he gets the covenant of shalom. Not many people get the covenant of God's personal shalom, which is pretty amazing. Okay, what else? So anyone else? How is God processing Pinhas' actions? Marge. So you think that God is saying that it is unacceptable. Sorry. You think that what Cosby Batsur, what the Israelite and the Midianite women were doing, God was saying that's unacceptable? Is that what you're getting at? Okay. Okay, so God is affirming the choice that Pinhas made by saying it was merited. He really needed to do that. Good. Tom?
He's also sparing the Israelite people as well.
God is also sparing Israel. Yeah, there's a little bit of reward for the Israelites. The Israelites are making out okay on this because of his actions. Good. Anyone else? Anyone uncomfortable with that? Anyone feel like, hey, what's going on here? All right, one and then two. Yes.
I think it's a pretty unusual part of the Torah where such a bad act is overlooked for some greater good.
Yeah, it is very unique that such a act of violence, not on behalf of God, but someone on their own fruition decides to do an act of violence. That is very rare, and that should be causing us to, what? A breach shalom, the priesthood? What's going on here? Michal, yeah. Yeah, we are about to spend an entire book of Torah going over all of the rules for how we are going to settle the land and how we are going to treat one another. And here God is saying, here's someone who just goes from the gut. He sees what should happen, and he just is going to do it. And that could create, if the goal is to settle the land of Israel, this can create a huge source of instability. Really good. Anyone else? So I want to offer a couple thoughts about what's going on here. The first is the word of shalom, that God has got Pinhas, and God does not really know what to do with Pinhas. And Pinhas is committing a huge act of violence, and the violence is there to stem a tide. And God has to perhaps is asking God himself the question, how are we going to move forward? And God is choosing shalom, peace, as the way of framing the next steps here. Almost as if to say, okay, everyone, we got to come down here, and the direction that we should always be pursuing is not violence, but it is a sense of shalom. The second is that God is, if we step away from reward and punishment, and we look at God trying to address Pinhas, what is God going to do to Pinhas? What does Pinhas need? And Pinhas, when we judge him, what concerns us is he's operating alone. He's acting independently. And God is coming in and saying, Pinhas, do you know what you need? You need me. You need the sense of living in partnership. You need, Pinhas, a sense of grace, where you know how to, a limit, a boundary. You don't have to do everything. You can lean on me. We can be a team. That seems to be a sense of what God is trying to accomplish when God says, abrit shalom. By the way, not related to the theme of this Devar Torah, but one thing that a famous commentary notes is that the priesthood is separated from the people of Israel. Priesthood dwells alone within the walls of the temple. And God might be saying, Pinhas, you've forfeited your ability to live amongst other people, if that's how you're going to operate. So I'm going to separate you. And the last thing I want to highlight is there is a strange trend amongst Levim of being absolutely necessary to the enterprise of the Jewish people, and also absolutely destabilizing and destructive. The first time we really see Levi make a choice, it's in his response to the rape of Dinah in Shechem, and he and Shimon, they massacre Issachar. They massacre all of the people after asking them to be circumcised. And Jacob is concerned by this. Later on, we're going to see Levi join with Moses and punish all the people who engaged in the golden calf. So there's this idea that sometimes Levi stands up for what's necessary, does the challenging work, but also can be very destructive. And God is perhaps not only speaking to Pinhas, but speaking to the idea of the Levites, saying, you can't dwell alone. We got to work together. You need me, right? And only in that partnership can we accomplish the sacred work that we are about to do. Okay, any questions on that? So there is a song for our country that captures this idea of the importance of partnership with God in engaging in the enterprise of this country. And it's a message that speaks to us like God perhaps is speaking to Pinhas. It's very easy when we are frustrated with the direction of where our country is going, when we worry about our safety, that we have to stand up and say, I'm going to take care of this on my own. Oftentimes, stagnation in our country is responded to with acts of zealotry. And you just have to look around at some of the acts of violence that are taking place and see people that say, oh, you know what? I am going to take the law into my own hands because that's what is needed for the betterment of our country. But there is a song that captures this idea that the way we curb that zealotry by also holding on to the passion. It's good to want what's best for our country. It's good not to settle. It's good to be an advocate. But when we operate in partnership with God, it keeps us humble and modest and mindful of the power that we carry when we act out what needs to happen for our country. And therefore, the idea of not merging, but combining us and God in the destiny of our country can carry a lot of value, just like the idea of the Berit Shalom did for Pinhas. What I'm referring to first Michal would like to say something. Yes, Michal. You guessed it. Very good, very good. Yes, you got it. You got a prize at the end of services. So I want to share a little bit about this really powerful song and then highlight just a few themes of it on this July 4th. Irving Berlin, does anyone know his original name? Not Yitzchak. Israel Isidore Balin was born on May 11th, 1888 in Tyumen, Siberia. His father, Moshe Balin, was a rabbi and cantor. The family lived under the constant threat of anti-Semitism, and after a pogrom destroyed their home when Irving was about 5 years old. They fled to America. In 1893, the Balin family arrived at Ellis Island, settling in the Lower East Side of New York. His father died when Irving was only 8 years old, forcing him to leave school and help support the family by selling newspapers and singing on street corners. He never learned to read music fluently, yet he would become one of the greatest songwriters in American history. Why did he write God Bless America? Irving Berlin did not write God Bless America for World War II. He first composed the song in 1918 while serving in the United States Army at Camp Upton, New York, during World War I. As part of his military service, Berlin was writing songs for a patriotic music review called Yip Yip Yap Hank. designed to entertain American troops. Although he wrote God Bless America for the production, he decided its prayerful and reverent tone was too serious for a comedy show. Instead of including it, he simply placed the manuscript in a drawer where it remained forgotten for nearly 20 years until he rediscovered and revised it in 1938. What's going on in 1938? Well, we know about Hitler's rise. Nazi Germany was openly persecuting Jews. Kristallnacht is happening. And once Kristallnacht occurs in 1938, radio star Katie Smith asked Irving Berlin for a patriotic song to perform on Armistice Day broadcast on November 11th. Berlin remembers the manuscript he had set aside 20 years earlier, revised it, and gave it to Smith, who sang it live on the air. The song immediately captured the heart of the country and became one of the most beloved songs in American history. For Berlin, a Jewish immigrant whose family had fled Russian anti-Semitism, God Bless America was not a song of triumphalism, it was a song of gratitude. And I just want to highlight a couple, And he refused to profit from this song. Some of you know this. He assigned all royalties to the God Bless America Fund, which has donated tens of millions of dollars to the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and other youth organizations. That fund is still active today. So a couple of themes. I mentioned God Bless America. He could have begun with the words, long live America, America forever, America first. If you appreciate a little humor there. But he starts with God bless America for the reasons I mentioned a second ago. Then stand beside her and guide her. Notice the verbs. God is not asked merely to protect America. God is asked to guide America. Jewish tradition teaches that nations, like individuals, require moral direction. Freedom alone is insufficient. It echoes Proverbs, trust in God and he will direct your paths. Light through the night with the light from above. Light is one of our sacred metaphors. Creation begins with light. We are to be a light unto other nations. And also the theme of gratitude instead of nationalism. The song, again, never says America is the greatest. Instead, it says, God bless America. It's a prayer of humility. The focus is not on national superiority, but on gratitude. And I think that feels very Jewish. So with that, I thought this was going to be in the Siddur, but it's not. So I'm going to begin with perhaps how he originally wrote it in Yiddish. And then if you know the words, you're welcome to join in with me on this 4th of July. And those of you who are fluent in Yiddish, I ask your forgiveness and patience with my pronunciations. And Grandma Claire, if you're up there, please, your patience as well. Okay, here we go. Gott bench Amerika, Land was ich lieb, steh sie bei ihr, Madrich seh ihr, überall legt a Strahl uns zu lieb, von de Bergbies zu die Prairies, bis de Jamen, weis mit Schäum, Gott bench Amerika, mein süßer Heim. Gott bench Amerika, mein süßer Heim. Let's try it in English if you know the words. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Happy July 4th, everyone.